Thanks so much for joining us for this interview. And if you'd start by just introducing yourself and telling us where you're coming from.
Yes, I am Kevin Onobi, and I'm the director of the American International School in Conakry, Guinea. I'm actually from two places. I'm from Nigeria originally, but I was born and raised in England.
Perfect. And what tell us a little bit about your background, if you don't mind.
Yes, my background was in microbiology. I studied microbiology in England and Finland. I went to study there, and I started in microbiology as a researcher, and then I left to go and manage restaurants. And then I decided I really prefer teaching, so I went into teaching. And I started at a public school in London, inner city school in London, and then decided to go abroad. And I started at the Atlanta International School. I went back as a teacher. I was an assistant head in London, and then I went down to a teacher, and then I just worked my way up to a middle school principal. And after Atlanta, I left to go back to London, then to India, and now to Guinea. And I was middle school principal, secondary school head, and now
Head of
director of
school.
principal. Yes.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, you identified two areas that we're going to talk about today. The first
Yeah.
one is around governance. So can you just
Right.
talk us through what you're proud of, what your experience has been with governance at the American International School in Conakry?
Sure. So when I first, this was my first headship, and I've worked with governors before in Atlanta and in India, and so I knew some things about governance, but obviously coming in as a director was totally different. And my first, obviously, meeting was all about introductions and some of the challenges I've seen at the school. And one of the things that I brought up was the school not having a pension for the local staff. And of course, they weren't aware of that. But they were very, very good in making sure that we dealt with it properly and resolved that issue. That gave me the knowledge that we have amazing governors that want to do well, but the things that they needed to do, I don't think they were sure. Some of them had a clue, some of them were new, some of them didn't know much about what they needed to do. So I spoke to them about getting trained, all of us getting trained. They agreed to that. We were lucky enough to get a grant from the Office of Overseas Schools. We couldn't get someone to come in, but we did it online, and we had 2 days of training, and we had some action points. And my role really was to make sure that each person did what they had to do. And we formed committees, and I was in each of those committees to just make sure that I worked with them to make sure we get the results that we planned for. And that's been amazing. And so one of my great times with the board is being able to leave some of those roles for the board, leave it with them, and I can then properly start enjoying my role as the director of the school. So I'm really proud of that. And they stepped in the role very well.
That is something to be proud of. So when you came in, there wasn't a clear understanding of what good governance is, and you
Yes.
were actually doing a lot of the work that would be the role of the board.
Correct. Yeah. So things things like arranging the agenda and then coming up with ideas for what do we do with finances, which was great for me. But I realized that actually there should be a finance committee or someone in charge of finance, and there should be a governance committee that really should talk about onboarding, and that was not there. I think the first time they actually did work in terms of having a committee was when they were hiring me, and they had a group that hired me. And we just felt that that's really what should be happening. Different groups on the board hiring. And then we had times when board members did not turn up. How do we deal with that? So we went from board members not turning up to now we've got a board election coming up, and we've got 8 people that want to be on the board, which is amazing. So people really have to vote. Last year, we only had 2 people that wanted to be on the board, and we had 2 spaces. So that was very clear. Um, how far we've gone, and a lot of praise to the board chair who's really taking it on to say we need to promote the board. So we promoted the board and all the things that they did for us at the school. They were always in the newsletter. When they came to see the school, I put them in the newsletter so that people could see that they're actually doing a lot and they have an impact on the school.
It sounds like you have really good partnership with your chair.
Oh,
if you've built
yes.
a strong relationship.
Totally. She is amazing. She is someone that I could just bounce ideas off, and she doesn't get into any of my business at all. She just suggests something. We actually met yesterday, and she comes, she suggested should we meet once a month just for a chit chat. And it's wonderful to just bounce ideas of her. And she suggests to me when she hears something, she tells me. We were very clear as well at the beginning that, my role is to lead the school, and they are in charge of fiduciary. They're in charge of making sure that they have the strategy. What's the strategy for the school? They had to bring that up. I support, but really they had to come up with that, and that's been amazing to see that happening.
You have clear understanding of the roles, and there's
Yes.
no blurred lines. That was one of my questions, so it's very clear
No.
you are the head, you are leading the
Yes.
school, they are in the governance realm.
Yeah. I mean, we've had times when we've kind of tried to cross, and I just have to. Oh no, let's get back.
Talk to me just a little bit about how your board is made up. Is it all parents? Is it a
All
mix of
parents. Yeah,
professionals?
we've
All
got
parents.
7, and then we have one person from the embassy.
Okay.
Then they just assigned to us. And that's been also been great. So we have that eyes on things as well. And then we have obviously a teacher rep and a parent.
Yep. Okay. That's fantastic. Is there anything else around governance that you feel like has contributed to the stability or growth in your school? And it may be, I know you've been in the headship just for the
Just year 1 year. Yeah. It's a
year.
good question because in terms of stability, we're now just thinking of that. So for example, when I had my evaluation with my board chair, she was very clear that this was her last year in Conakry. So we started saying, who do we think? I mean, I have a succession plan right now, in fact, and I have it from the board um, post to the cleaners. So really, we've said actually it'd be nice if we have Lauren to be the next board chair. How do we make that happen in terms of finding out whether Lauren is also going to be here next year? So I've done that, and I know that that person is going to be here. They are really the last person there because they have a 2 year post. So they stay for 2 years and then they leave the board, and then they can apply again to be on the board, but they have to leave after 2 years. So my job really is to check to make sure that everyone that is there are there for the right amount of time. And if we really think they're great, we need to kind of put them next to which role would suit them, and then include them intentionally include them in some of the emails that I write to the board chair, for example. Um,
So that they
yeah,
can start being looped in.
correct. That being looped in. That's so they haven't had that before, but informally it's kind of happened. But now we're formally just putting it in place to make sure that we are strategically just thinking who really is the right person for this role that will be able to support me as well as last one has.
Good. Can we talk a little bit just about your leadership team, the processes you may have put in place in terms
Yes.
of professional development and
Yeah.
evaluation? Talk me
Yeah.
through a little bit of that
Sure.
work at your
So
school.
we have an associate head and 3 division heads, and I know that seems like a lot for a very small school. Um, but the reason why was because one of the board's goal before I came was to have a career path for people because they didn't have that. And as a small school, as you know, you can't have the little posts, but we intentionally had that. So they actually had that last year. What wasn't there was clear responsibilities, who does what. So that was in place. And we made it clear that everyone, for example, everyone that had a problem in middle school will go to this person instead of coming to the director first. So we made that so the communication was very, very clear.
Okay.
This and even and I actually interviewed people that were in the post before. We had an interview again when I came in, and so people had to reapply for the post.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I just thought, because I don't know how they had the post the year before I came. I knew that they had meetings here and there, now and then when they needed to have meetings. But so we had interviews for all the posts, and so that people can also see how I work, because it's not. I didn't want them to think it was going to be similar to the last director, and I
Yeah.
thought the interview would kind of show that. So they had to present, I had to watch them teach, and then I had to have interviews with students. So they know that I'm students' life is very important for me, but you are in charge of it in your division, and this is why the students are in the interview. Teachers are very important, so I need to have teachers with me. So that was very clear, so that they know that this is going to be the vision. My vision is for you to become a director if you want to, but there's a path to that. So that was the first thing we made clear. And then we had in place whereby they had a role of coaching teachers. And that meant I had to coach them. So we had I guess incremental coaching where you go to people's class for 6 weeks and observe them, and you so I did that with each head of divisions, and then they started doing that for each of their teachers in their division. So that was something that was clear, and it wasn't anything formal. It was just training, professional development, and then because we had so much to do, we had MSA, we had tending to people's needs, all the things that they asked for, and then we had all our priorities. So we really didn't have a professional growth evaluation pathway that we now just instigated this year. But what I was clear about was all of us would go to either a conference or a PDA. It doesn't have to be in the country. It can be outside of the country. But so all leadership had that. What do you think we need for your division, or what do you think we need for the school that you'd like to be involved with? So we did that because we didn't have a lot of money.
Right.
So be very careful. And we did that all through, from the leaders to the cleaners. What do you guys? So the cleaners needed English lessons, so we got English lessons for them, for example. And then the leaders went for PDs. That was there. And then we met every week. And what I started doing, but I wish I kept on doing, was to have little trainings for us. Like even if it's 30 minutes of leadership training. And I started that, but we didn't finish off every week because there was just so much to do.
Right.
And I think this thing needs to be planned in, to say, this week we're just going to do leadership training. Next week we're going to be tactical. Next one we're going to be strategic, or so on and so forth. There's such an amazing group that, because we have so much going on, we actually had to have some Saturdays to do some retreats where we work together. But I think this year we're going to put more energy into putting in place and working out those evaluation points. And we've done that now. Every teacher is going to be evaluated. Even though I went to every class and evaluated every teacher, it wasn't formal. I just did it.
Okay.
And we had the result of but now we're saying what we did last year, we're going to make it's now formal. This is what we're going to be doing every year, because we realized that people liked that method of coaching. And I think what we now say we're going to do is, at the beginning of the year, we're going to talk about what was the things that you needed to improve on. And that's what every HOD is going to be looking at when they either come to your class or are supporting you.
So the teachers and staff members identify the areas where they need improvement and then
Correct.
partner with the head of
Correct.
departments.
Correct.
Okay.
They'll partner with the head of departments to help them do that. And then obviously when the head of department goes into the lessons, and to observe those things, they'll be able to support them. I will still do the formal interview, observation for teachers. Good.
So essentially, you started kind of informally last year
Correct.
implementing. Really, it's like a culture of how we do this. It's what, like, as you're
Correct.
talking about it, like
Correct.
you built trust with the staff. You took time
Correct.
with every staff member to see what are your goals, where
Yeah.
do you want to go.
Yeah.
So you built the trust, that foundational
Yes.
piece. Now this year, you're like, okay, well, you liked it. We're going to formalize
Yeah.
this. It's so
Correct. It's going
smart.
to formalize it. Yeah. And remember that time even though I was doing it on my own, it went for a long time. It went to, my last observation was like in January, but this time we've put dates to it.
Okay.
By December, you would have had your formal interview. And we even told them that if we feel you need help, we would say, Lauren, I don't know, the differentiation is not great, and da 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 da. Da. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to get you support to do that, but the support is going to be till March. But we are saying that you're going to be better. We're going to put all our energy into making you great at differentiation, and we're going to get that sorted in March. If we know that you're really really bad, and the HOD must have been there from the beginning. So what I'm telling the HODs now is you need to be going into people's class. Notice that Lauren is struggling with behavior. You need
Mhm.
to be there now, because before I then get there in November, December, all that has been sorted out. It is your responsibility, because you're not going to be fighting for Lauren in December when I'm deciding whether to keep her or not. So there'll be some hard line. Thank you, Lauren. We're not going to renew your contract next year in December, because I also need teachers to start looking for jobs. And I also need to find someone quick if I don't really want anyone that is, but I was very clear with the teachers. I said last year there was no big deal apart from assessment from all of us. And that's what we need to work on as a school. And as a school, we are working on assessment as one of the things that we're going to improve, because I saw that all across. But if a teacher is really, really bad and we've put in all the support and everything, and by December they haven't improved, they would know it's not a surprise, or they will say, I'm not renewing my contract. That's where we want it to be so clear that the teacher wouldn't even think of saying, I'm going to argue this point or whatever. And because teachers also tell me by November whether they want to stay.
Okay.
So that's the line. Either you're out and I'll let you know by December, or there's something that we need to work on and we're going to work on it till March. And and I said, but we still can let you go in March if you do not improve. But the idea of it, if you don't think you're going to improve at all, then we'll let you know by December, so that it's easy for you to find a job and it's easy for us to find someone else. And then you have the other bit where there's no concerns at all and everything, and then you just carry on. And there's no observation in the second half of the semester unless a parent complains or something or whatever, or kids complain,
I
and then
see.
we have, yeah. So it's
So this
simple but clear.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what it sounds like. And it sounds like it's aligned also to the vision of where this and the strategic plan of where the school's going. Like
Correct.
you're mentioning behavior and differentiation and
Correct.
different so
Correct. Yes.
right. So teacher may have been a good fit for the school at some
Yes.
point and then maybe just doesn't feel like they align with the
Yeah.
direction of the school
Vision.
now.
Vision.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Are you using in terms of your evaluation tools, have you all developed a framework that you're
Yeah.
using?
Well, Danielson,
Yeah. Okay.
part of it is what we're using for observation. Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
And we wanted to start, and when we presented it to teachers, and teachers said, "Oh yeah, that would be great." And they came up with ideas like, oh, and can we have something relating? Can we have another goal relating to the strategic plan? Can we have another goal that we want from ourselves and this? And I said, this is all lovely. And I said, but we need to be able to manage this. And I have HODs that are still teaching full time. And yeah, so I need to say, but we said, of course, if one of your goals is to, I don't know, be able to plant something, yeah, if you want to be planting, trees or whatever, that could be a goal. It's outside, but the goal is you tell us what you need to improve on. And that's the one. If you want to do something with the strategic plan of, you know, um, infrastructure for the school, you want to help with that goal, by all means, put that as number 2, and we'll count it, because it will help you as a whole school. That's a PD for you if you're developing that, and it helps you later on. But I
True.
want to be very clear that classroom teaching and learning is what I want you to focus on. And I've told them in other schools, of course, we've had that, where I've had people have to have 3 goals, one for your class, one for your department, and one for the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not there yet, because we
Not
have so
there.
much other things to deal with.
But it's good that you recognize, like, contextually where you're at instead of trying to bring in
Correct.
what you used in India or Atlanta International to Conakry. That's not where you're at. So
No.
it's the right
And I
approach.
learned that this is a
Yeah.
small school. We don't have
Yeah.
so much money. We don't have so many resources. And I need to cut my coat according to my size. I need to understand the culture. And I need to know that we have so much to do, so much clearing up. And that is the first thing. I need to know that we get our accreditation, that our stipulations are off. And thank heavens they've been taken off. We have to deal with that as well. And everyone is included in that. That means
Yeah.
I can't overburden them with having 3 goals. It's just not going to work.
Yep, that's really I just had a call with another head of school where he was saying every time we are adding something new, we're making sure we're taking something away. And you're
Yes.
kind of talking about a similar idea is that we can't just keep saying, "Oh, we want you to do this and set 3 goals and accreditation," and like
Um,
you'll burn people out.
mm,
Yeah, especially in small schools because everyone wears so many hats
yes,
anyways. Yeah,
that's so true. We do.
yeah. Talk to me just real quick and then we'll wrap up about your do you have an evaluation with the board and does the board
I
do a
do.
self-evaluation? Yes.
They do. Yes, yeah, and that was the thing we talked about this year about evaluating ourselves, starting from the board, um, to myself, and obviously to teachers. And so we have a survey for the board. uh, they give us an evaluation tool when we were trained, and we use that evaluation tool to assess the board. And we come together and they just kind of fill out a form and they talk about it in the board meeting of what they need to do better next year. And then I have my evaluation with the board chair, and that came up from what the board decided should be looked at. So things like the goals that I made at the beginning of the year, um, what they were looking for. So uh, I think it was 5 questions that they looked at, and I had to rate myself. So I rate myself. So, for example, engagement with families could be
Mhm.
one of them, one to five, and I just rate myself 4, and they might say you're 3.5, and they tell me some stuff. They give me some feedback on, oh yes, we gave you 3.5 because maybe having I don't know, afternoon coffee with the parents would make you more engaged with the parents, things like that. And then I get what you call it. They send questions to the staff, and the staff give some feedback about my work with them.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how they and then they talk to. If I choose a few people that I think know me well, 5 people, and then they talk to 5 people about me. Yes, so that's yes, this is a lot, but I quite like it because then if we don't agree on this, that survey for the whole school will come in. If that is not good enough, the 5 people would also say something, and they'll
Yep.
get. And then we have this old school survey as well, and that also doesn't come into the evaluation, but that also gives kind of a um I guess a feel about how I lead the school.
Yeah, an overall snapshot. It's kind of like
Yes,
triangulating data, like you've got data from
triangulate
lots of
data
different points,
indeed.
so
Yes,
that's
yes,
good. That's
yeah.
great. All right, is there anything else before we stop recording that you would wanna share in regards to governance or leadership in your
No, it's just been great, and I think one of the challenges that I had was when one of the board members wrote an email to a parent, and when we are talking about the subject that they wanted that they were worried about, and the board member wrote back to the parent and said, "Oh, actually, just if the problem continues, write to me or write to the director, and I just wrote to her privately, of course, and just said, no, they write to me,
good.
remember what we were taught.
Yep,
And then when we went for the next meeting, I thought that was the interesting thing. When we went to our follow up meeting, the governor brought it up again, and I was very firm. And I said, Lauren, we had this conversation before. We were trained about this, and you're now. And I wrote to you, and you are now bringing it up during our board meeting, in public. And I
yep,
said, I've made myself very clear. I'm not, you're not doing 2 jobs and I'm not doing 2 jobs. I'm not getting into your lane. Don't get into my lane. And that's exactly how I said it. We're not having this conversation again. It's either you lead or I lead, but both of us are not leading the school.
good for you, Kevin.
Yeah. And because it was quite frustrating but I repeated myself. We've been taught, we've paid money for this. And now you're telling these parents to come to you. I told you that she's not coming to me. I reminded you of the rule. And then you brought it up in public. That's
Yep,
not good.
no,
Funnily enough, I then I took her after the meeting. I said, we were meant to be going for a coffee. Do you still want to go? And she actually said yes. So,
that's good, that's good she took the feedback and then
yes.
still
Yeah. And just
maintained.
moved up. Yeah.
Yep,
So,
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah, when I work with boards, I always I have this big slide that says you have one employee, and we come back to it over and over. You have one employee. No, you're not. You're not the
Yes.
liaison for the parents. You're not involving yourself with teachers. You are working with the head of school, and the head of school is leading the school, right?
Yeah.
Like it's difficult. The
Yeah.
parent
Give
led
me
board.
everything. Tell me everything, all the rubbish that you're hearing, but don't tell a parent that you're going to sort it out. I said, because when that happens,
No,
I'm leaving because that means you don't trust me to do the job and you want to do it. So
that's right.
I'm very, very, I don't even want to have a conversation because then it becomes so messy. And
Oh,
parents, you're sending parents mixed messages and I don't want it.
nope. I absolutely. That's a really good lesson across schools, especially with parent run boards, though. That's a
Yeah.
theme for sure. Okay, well, hang on the line. Please don't hang up. I'm going to stop recording.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you so much.